Hello, everybody, and welcome to the desk. Must One here, still joined by Nightmare, still joined by Melvin Izzle. Gentlemen, Unica performed rather well, and V3 clinched that first victory. I just want to come over to both of you first. What's your initial reactions? Like, V3 won the first game. We predicted like a 3-0 Hawks. What's going on?
Little bit worried, but I did say, if V3 win the first game, it's going to be a very close series because it's all going to come down to just the nerves of it. And I feel like the Hawks were in the driver's seat for a lot of that game, but V3 did a brilliant job of protecting Unica with this kind of draft where it was all for one, everybody goes in, which made it very straightforward, very easy for them to coordinate. That is going to be the best environment you could get joining a team in such a tense environment.
And the strangest thing happened. I'm in the middle of Pixaban. My internet dies. I see that Rhino has picked up the rel, and I think, wait, hang on, weren't we just talking about that on the desk? So I'm back to go talk about how the heck did V3 ended up, team fighting that cleanly towards the late game, because they looked really hard to rattle the later the game went on.
I mean, this was a mix of two sides, because at the beginning, this looked really strong for the side of the Hawks. They got a lot of early kills over onto Ace. They were positioning around Dasher. I mean, Dasher was huge in this game, but I want to take it over to, honestly, the replay that kind of, I feel like, defines a lot of this. And Nightmare, you're gonna kind of run us through how this all went down. This was a huge, important part in the mid lane. What we'll do is we'll have to come back over here to the desk. I'm getting some noise telling me that potentially we weren't getting any audio, so we'll have to sound check that. Maybe we'll have to go for a rebate over on that lovely recap. I mean, I feel very nice and refreshed on all of this. The Aphelios guns, the placement and everything. We'll have to wait and see. We'll get in contact with our producer about all of that later, but hopefully no more pain gaming action for us. But they might be meeting us at Worlds, and we'll still have to get there because, gentlemen, let's go over to, I think, honestly, maybe a very important matchup in this, and this was the bot side. We talked a huge amount of this, and I'd love to know, honestly, your thoughts, Rainer, on God, it wasn't that Braum. I thought it was going to be a Braum. It was the Rel. Thank you, and that's what we were recapping earlier. Obviously, versus Corporal on that Leona. Gentlemen, what was your thoughts on these two bot lanes with the hyper carries?
It looked like, at least in the early game, Hawks were very cognizant of knowing they need to snowball Zenit, even rotating up, giving up that first dragon and saying, hey, we're going to just use this Herald push, get the tower 100 to 0 in the top lane. That ended up paying dividends for them because it meant that after that point, Upperman was unlocked. They could just always be somewhat close to the Aphelios, meant that for the majority of up until we saw that replay, there were realistically no picks V3 could make because there's an unlocked Tahm Kench, a very accelerated Aphelios, who was able to go back into the bot lane, and at least up until that marker, I would say Hawks were definitely playing around their ADC better.
But then actually, again, you come to that replay, which sadly we didn't have the audio for, so we'll get that sorted out for the next time we go through things. But one of the important things is that we did see mid lane out of turret fall at about 20 minutes. To my knowledge, Hawks didn't return the favor with that for another 10 minutes. 30 minutes thereabouts is when the mid lane out of turret for V3 fell. And that amount of map pressure allowed V3 to have this forward operating base spread out from the map at that point and control where they wanted to be on the map. And that's, for me, what gave them a lot of these abilities to team fight more effectively because they had a better platform to get in position for those fights.
Depending on the official stream, we'll be able to know the direction we'll go in the future, depending on if we can go straight to casters or what have you. But gentlemen, I want to know, where are you kind of sitting with your predictions? Obviously, all of us transitioned over to a 3-0 to the Hawks. With this one game, obviously, are we expecting still a Hawks decisive victory? Has this changed things? I mean, playoffs V3 is a different beast of V3. It's why I favored them in the first, right? Coming over to you first, Melvin.
I'm concerned to see what happens with this Diana pick in particular.
Love that you're highlighting it.
In the bans that the Hawks went through last time, it was the Ziggs, the Varus, and the Thresh. That doesn't leave very much room for Diana. So unless they're going blue side, and that means not giving Dash a counter pick anymore, then you are going to have to give this up. I don't know which of those picks they would, frankly, I would say maybe the Varus they would forfeit the first, but even then, like, everything you look at here, that means you could go for the Tahm Kench and the Braum paired with it, and then suddenly it's a similar story for V3, but with just lane domination. So there's a lot of good answers that V3 can have. The only question is, can they keep Unica coherent with the team on a less cookie-cutter comp?
Namera?
I think the Diana does add a lot of stability in for Unica because it's very telegraphed what they should do, right? Your early game is not particularly involved. You can respond to plays if you wish, but you're not really the one on the aggressive front foot. I think that's where you kind of want to be as a jungler slotting into a new team. You don't want things to be, particularly complex after a certain while. So I think I want to see a Diana removed or picked away. I think that there needs to be some more volatility thrown into that jungle pool, something to upset that. But then besides that, I look at over at the side of the Hawks, and I think Corporal had a bit of an off game one. They overdove a couple of different times, ended up with not the best scoreline. You kind of expect that with an engaging support when you are behind as a team or if you are losing team fights. But I think that Corporal needs to just take a bit of a breather, still themselves, and just find a better way to start going aggressively forwards, because it seemed like the team was a bit disconnected with what they wanted to do.
We'll have to see how that game does outcome. Ultimately, I mean, Xin Zhao wasn't banned by either of these two teams, so even if you get rid of that Diana, there's another champion that is very similar to Diana with that, Zinzao, junglers didn't get a huge priority, honestly, in this pick and ban phase. They were kind of just picked and then forgotten about. I mean, remember, Tussle first rotationed that volley bear with the Aphelios, so it will be very important to watch these two junglers. Obviously, Unica is subbing in for Muujin. We hope Muujin is going to be okay in the future, and that if V3 are victorious in this series, that they will be coming back for future matches for their sake. Gentlemen, though, I've just seen that we've got the post-game breakdown screen, and I think this would be a super interesting one for us to go over just before we get our casters back in on the desk and actually hand it over to them. There are some pretty impressive stats on this post-game breakdown. Where are your eyes getting drawn to? Obviously, the hyper carries are one for me.
Whole difference over time. Just look at that graph is the first thing that you see, and it really tells the story of the game.
Yeah.
Where you can see it's that point, that replay right there. Everything after that, the V3 comp was online. First item for this massive team fight presence. Everybody could have just won a fight immediately for this team, and that meant that the pressure was so low for everybody. Whereas for the Hawks, it was a lot of single target CC. You have Dasher, you have this Leona and the volley bear. All of them really do require somebody to either go out of position or for you to be proactively forcing, which I think Hawks, they were playing really tempo, they were doing well, and then it just stopped. It just stopped because they didn't want to engage into the mass that was this V3 team comp.
What about you, Nymara? Where are you thinking with this?
So part of me is reminded of the last regular season game between these two teams, actually, because I remember Dash being on a LeBlanc, and I said, LeBlanc might be able to actually carry this game. And we saw these impressive individual plays, but not enough of them and not at the right time to turn the game. And we were kind of talking about, in a similar regard, Dasher trying to, live up to the LJL's hype of Arya in some ways too. And of course, Arya is the one player we rate above this mid laner in the LJL in terms of that role. This was another game where I'm sat there thinking, maybe if you had a miracle play with a shockwave, you win this game. Maybe if you don't mess up those stolen shockwaves a couple of times during right. We saw half of the brilliant plays. Half of them were at the right time too. It wasn't enough to be that solo carry that the Hawks desperately needed towards that late game. And you might be ruining that opportunity.
I mean, this is going to be very important to kind of see the options. I mean, Dasher definitely was the mercurial part, and when it looked good, it looked incredible. And I remember I was talking to you both on the desk while we were waiting, watching and waiting for this game to end. And I was like, oh, I think in the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, I think this game is Hawks favored. I don't think they can lose this one. And then team fights came around, and V3 Esports just seemed to have superior team fighting. And I want to come over to you first, Nymara, for this one. V3's team fighting just seems like it's upgraded between, honestly, Split ending and then that match against the Axis, and then coming into this one, it seems upgraded.
I think yes, to a point, but I'm also sat there thinking, if you pick like team fight champion in each role, you probably think, oh, Meganar's probably up there. Diana is the team fighting jungler at the moment. Oh, Orianna shockwaves are really good on that front. Oh yeah, Jinx, Rel, that's fantastic wombo. You look at what V3 want to do, and they played out the game according to what the champions wanted to do. They're not doing anything particularly intricate in the actual execution of the team fights in that way. They group together, and as Melvin Izzle was saying, they don't really want to dive into that, which means it gives them a degree of safety. I think that V3 played to their champions very, very well, and I mean, yes, it is an upgrade from what we saw in the regular split. Part of that is due to the way that they're drafting to enable that, but it's still good that they can execute when given the right tools.
Melvin Izzle.
It leaves me bearing the question, do the Hawks run it back? Because they were in a winning spot. They could have ended that game. I think that I do agree, echoing the sentiment of it was execution errors to a point, and not snowballing off of dragons, allowing V3 to get to objectives first. If you let this team stand in front of a Baron, stand in front of a dragon, you cannot contest them. We saw that one of the few fights after that 20-minute point that went in the Hawks' favor required Zenit to flash forward on the Aphelios to just 100 to 0 Reiner before anything started. Like, that was the only time it went positive.
Helps, but yeah.
So It's
that
scary.
play alone. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point to kind of emphasize and end on for us here over at the analyst desk. That play, the three of us with bated breath almost had the same reaction at the moment, and then we saw Appam then eat up Zenit. It's like, oh my god, it's all
Oh
okay.
yeah, that happens.
Oh, oh, okay, he's fine. Oh, they win this team fight. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that's how it runs down. When we come back from this very short break, we'll be back with our casters who will be bringing you game number 2 between the Fukuoka Softbank Hawk Gaming and V3 Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This one is definitely spicing up.
Welcome back, everybody, to the LJL casting desk. I'm Midnight, still joined by Temporo for what should be. I've escalated, all right? Before it was the small little ones, now it's the full-on Poro that I've managed to find.
Fluffy friends, good times.
Exactly.
That's
What
it.
could go wrong?
That's it. You gotta
obviously-
have to take some comfort. You are a SoftBank Hawks fan, and that game just
Look,
happened.
Yeah, look, it's been a rough couple minutes since the end of the first match. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Hawks did lose the first match in this best of 5 series, and V3 looks better than a lot of us were willing to give credit for. A lot of people coming into this were still leaning more towards the Hawks and V3 to win, and then on top of that, with the change of junglers coming through, there was the opinion that the replacement for the side of V3 wasn't going to be able to step up, right? But not necessarily the case when you run just a team fight composition and you're like, okay, you have your job is to pick a fight, get in there, hit the R key, and that's kind of your job. And did it damn well.
It was the job. We saw the Hawks build that significant lead slowly up, mainly through the mid lane. Them missing V3 not being able to be in command of their own destiny pretty much is pretty concerning. That should lead to more losses than victories. So over a best of 5, I suppose if the Hawks roll this dice 5 times, we've probably seen them roll the stones the only time they're going to. But V3 will now be invigorated with that victory. It will be a little more difficult. I noticed we're both on the playoff bid, Midnight. It's that time of year again.
Yes, that's that run, but yeah, that's just how it be, right? Obviously these teams. Oh wait, my face is really dark on stream because I forgot to turn my lights back on.
Whoops.
There we go. Let that be light. So, I just glanced at the camera. I'm like, why does it look like I'm living inside a cave? Well, I am, but I realized I didn't turn my lights on.
While we're on fluff, I've just closed all the windows and shut all the curtains to try and get as much noise proofing as possible. The Village Fate has started outside and they've started blasting Hard Rock Hallelujah as loud as they can. It was really respectful.
That's
So
why
unless,
you need to live down in Australia, mate. It's what, eight in the after. It's 8 at night right now, man. It's
Yeah.
if I was opening that window, it'd be pitch black. It's great down here now. It's
maybe we'll do
prime
a
casting.
wildlife viewing with Midnight if we have a long gap between some games.
Oh, look at this! It's a wild porter.
Outside the window in the white.
I went immediately Scottish when I tried to be full Steve Irwin. That was not my not my great look. Accents have never been my greatest forte. All right, and Australian accent. When you actively try to put a more emphasis on it, it goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yours is really good anyway.
Thank you. I like to think I've been living in this country long enough that the accent's a little bit on the stronger side of things.
Yeah. I don't know if you were a Randy Felt face, but I was halfway through last cast and I was like, I'm sure I'm just casting across from a funny sock puppet over here.
I mean, if I just like, can I hide on the? I'm sure I can
Yep,
hide
you
on
can
the-
be Poro, man. You
I
can
will
take that
become
from
Poro.
Nightmare. That's fine.
I'll steal that room from him. But looking at the second game of the series, right?
Mm.
The Des mentioned it a little bit. I feel like it's worth taking a little bit of a poke at now before we do get into the second game. Pick ban. I'm really interested. What are the Hawks gonna do to adapt? Do they get rid of, like? Do you just see the substitute jungler and say, okay, whatever you just played, you're not getting access to. So we'll ban the Diana. We'll take the Diana. There are so many different things that they could look for. I'm gonna ask your opinion on it, but I guess
That's
spoiler
okay.
alert, we're into Champion Select.
Spoiler alert, we are in LeBlanc and Syndra across from each other. Syndra early rotation suggests a Ziggs line for V3, and we have had a swapping of sides. If I'm the Hawks coach, I run back game one and we fix some issues just by chatting about it. Like, I don't think anything should change. The early game was completely in the Hawks' hands, and it looked like a Hawks game. So I think you just run that back again. You do it again. And if it doesn't work second time, you've used all of your sort of tokens for that series, and you adapt, and you better prepare that adaptation because you're riding it for the next 3 games.
Yeah,
V3 here taking away the Gnar, so we will see a significant change.
Yeah, the Varus might not get banned either. Of course, LeBlanc is Syndra standard, Thresh standard. The Gwen getting caught out is quite interesting. But the one thing with V3, no Lucian ban at the current time, and if you remember the bans from the first round, it was Syndra, LeBlanc, and Lucian. And with the Ziggs getting caught out, the Hawks now have to ask themselves, Aphelios is on the table here. Lucian is on the table here. Which of these... Viego, one of the most popular champions in the LJL regular season, untouched in the first round of banning. What do you pick? You go for that Varus that was banned in game number 1.
I can't help think that V3 have draft blundered here. They've removed the Syndra, which is pretty good if they want to play approach. The Syndra also the best champion into Ziggs in the bottom lane. It completely crushes the little fuzzy Hexplosives expert in the 2v2. Just completely makes his job impossible. But they'll ban that away themselves, and introducing that anti-synergy means that the Hawks get away with pretty much the premier power pick on the patch that isn't that Ziggs. And it will likely go unanswered here. I think nothing remaining on the board beats Varus in lane unless you go for some real left field stuff. V3 will they'll take it away, Midnight. Take it away.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could still. I think looking at the Aphelios isn't gonna hurt, right? Like, sure, it may not be great.
It hurts. It hurts.
Okay, yeah, it sucks. And if Hawks lock in the Braum here, it's pretty much telling Holo, I dare you to lock in that Aphelios here.
That lane is rough for Aphelios. They have support counters, so this Varus can now play both ways. Please, oh, okay. I'm not sure about the Orianna either. That seems like they're throwing Dasher under the bus a little, where we would have preferred previously to see things like the Lucian that generate advantage. It will now be on Ace to push against the control mage in middle. They have a bunch of options. They could really show their stuff up against this Orianna, the pick not so able to defend itself in the current era. And when you're not on red side, you don't defend that R3, and Ezreal also pretty rough here, but could have got banned in the second phase of E3 getting out and ahead under that one. They will essentially allow this blue 3 pick Orianna to go uncontested and be defended in the second round. So expect to see mid bans out from the Hawks, whereas V3 more likely to go to that top side.
I actually don't mind the Orianna lock-in here because, of course, V3 do have access to pick 4. So they're thinking to themselves, well, there's every chance that Ace just grabs himself Orianna again, so we'll take it for ourselves. And I have a gut feeling, I've got no evidence to back this up other than my gut, that says that Apperman has something. I don't know what, but something. Apperman is luring into a fight there, and that's what they kind of really want to see out of V3. I've got nothing to base that on other than something's up, and the fact that we're seeing top lane bans coming out from the Hawks here, I don't know, man. I'm getting a gut feeling here because you could focus Ace's champion pool down. You know, there's a potential of a Silas there. Zoe, while she's not that popular, is still a decent matchup into the likes of Orianna. Last I checked, there are options.
Yeah, it's really rough here. So what's got me umming and erring mostly as we jump forwards a little bit in time, Kench got it as well. The R5 here can be anything in top lane, and it should be in top lane for V3. Banning away top laners just says you're not able to play into them or counter them or anything. Again, if V3 wanted to play the Gnar, they banned it away themselves. It's very bizarre, and most of their bans catching themselves in the crossfire. This mid pickup here is known. The force should be simple and straightforward.
Ooh, I'm not so sold on this idea personally. Like, you know that Dash is rocking Orianna in the mid lane here. Lock in whatever Ace is going to bring to the table, but...
Renekton has a reasonable matchup with Orianna. This may be more flexible than it appears. Especially we're in LJL land. Going
Yeah,
down
true.
under with
I
the
keep
Croc
forgetting
is not so unlikely.
Oh.
Like V3 are playing this draft on hard mode, man. Like it's so weird to watch them cross over themselves. I really hope like this Renekton is like a huge Gigabrain moment where it's gonna go somewhere we don't expect or force a good matchup. Because it does have the Volibear, which is, you know, a good ganking partner. They do dive well together.
Please. Please, Epperman. You've got a Xin Zhao, which is a hell of an aggressive jungler. And it is going to be the Aatrox in the top lane, baby. This is what I wanted to see out of Epperman. Not a tank, a damn good bruiser, a fighter. And now Kokok has to say, well, am I getting the Renekton? Am I getting the Volibear? Or am I getting whatever the hell this last pick is for V3? And I feel like he has to go Renekton duty.
Renekton, a reasonably good way to open up the Aatrox in the early game. Doesn't delay his team fight presence too much. When you are Aatrox, you want to be that mid lane mid lane. You want to be that front line of a team fight. Galio coming in at the end. I think V3 have blundered. This draft doesn't contain enough damage, enough presence to break through the Hawks front line. I think it's going to be real difficult. I think if the Galio really shows up here, or Ace in the mid lane, then it could go well. But other than that, V3 have removed many of their own win conditions. Unless the game goes super late, this Ezreal is going to be playing from behind for a long time. And it's so difficult here for V3 to push forwards on this draft, make proactive plays, and get going where they want to be going.
And if we can go back to game number 1, what worked out was the fact that the Hawks played aggro in the early game, they got ahead in the early game, and then the really good scaling that, you know, the Jinx, specifically that I can recall from V3, helped bring them back into the game, right? The Orianna, the Diana had a great team fight set up here. And there was a clear identity what V3 were bringing to the table. Says, hey, we're going to team fight the crap out of you. I look at this lineup here from the likes of V3, and I say to myself, well, I don't really know what you do. You've got a good early game Renekton. You've got a good Volibear, because I'm not a huge fan of Volibear in the jungle, but I know it's a good champion. Galio is a nullifying lane. And you've got Ezreal, Leona, who wants to engage, but not in the lane.
Not engage. Yeah, it's like do side lane, but don't. Do team fight, but don't. Do scale, but don't. It's
yeah.
Like if this is super comfort V3 and we see it work, great. Otherwise, it leaves me questioning what we're going for here. And if we spin it back round to the Hawks, we've got power picks in nearly every lane. Even if Apperman falls really behind on this Aatrox, it's very exciting because he may just generate a huge lead in that 2v2. Pairs fantastic role with the Xin Zhao. That Aatrox will be a conditional frontline at all stages of this game. You've got Xin Zhao, who for a few seconds can negate everything. Any engage coming forwards from Reiner or Cog can be wasted on this Xin Zhao, who is a fantastic ball delivery system for the Orianna, who will likely just be fine against Ace's Galio. The Galio, not in that full AP form of years gone by, can't clear the wave as fast as Orianna does, or really against the Orianna. And then Braum Varus in this bottom lane, it is the priority bottom lane. It is the one that takes apart others. Nothing beats this in lane that isn't a mage.
Well, obviously V3 have set themselves a little bit of a challenge coming into this one here. But if V3 can make this work, this is one of the stronger compositions that we're going to see out of the Hawks today, right? Again, look at this bottom lane specifically. If you can beat Zenit on one of the strongest AD carries that you can bring to the front right now, what is then it going to be forced onto then? At that point, you're like, well, do I try it again? Do I find a third champion to play in the series? Like, you put him in a really awkward bind here. So it'll be very interesting to see if the three can pull this off. But
It
before we
goes
get into
both
game,
ways with the best of 5. If you're in as good a position as Hawks are now and you lose, that's it. You don't get
not
this
looking
advantage
good.
every game.
It doesn't look good if
No.
they struggle this game.
It really doesn't feel good either.
Yeah, well, let's find out. We're diving into the game itself here. And before the game really kicks off, as we see a standardized line of scrimmage to kick off the beginning, Hawks' early game in game number 1 was, I think it's fair to say, important. That what gave them the lead, the position that they were in. But now I'm very interested in to see what does V3 have any tools in their kits on their early game champions to stop it from happening again.
Well, you could argue that you go for the Leona all-in in bottom lane, but Corporal's warded it out. More than aware that that was a possibility. Also happy the Braum has gone for the Guardian this game, so the 2v2 will be strong between Corporal and Zenit. They will have the ability to take on Hollow and Reiner directly, not waiting around for any of the members of their team, not waiting to scale up for anything. They will be empowered. They're also not going to go for a delayed leash, so it looks like it'll be Tussle starting on his own. As I did figure out why Blitzcrank bot favored V3 so much last game, and that's because he's loaded with Honey's Jinx data. When he thinks about Jinx in the mid to late game, Blitzcrank bot realizes that the LJL really does love that champion. They're not here right now, and it looks like the Hawks favored at nearly every stage in this game based on artificial intelligence analysis. Thank you very much, Blitzcrank-san.
I mean, in hindsight, of course, Blitzcrank thinks about Honey when he thinks of Jinx. That's probably, in hindsight, that should have been obvious. That should have been easy to work out.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of Jinx in the LGL, I think of Honey.
I think,
So,
Resident Robot does as well.
Yes, well, don't blame him on that one there. It's Tussle. No leash, but doesn't need it on the Zinzao. The sustainability of that champion is ridiculous. I've actually started spamming him in my own games. It's just like, this shouldn't be allowed, but it is, and it's great.
Oh, it's always a lot of fun. I don't know, it speaks to a lot of junglers right now. I think even the slower ones can just start leashless, especially at chickens. The way Omnivamp heals you in the jungle, the way Smiters, the way Gromp is always just a full heal. It's very conducive to junglers starting on their own, and I think in competitive it is just the best way to be. Bleed no information and try and surprise your opponents. As we see Apperman get a reasonable trade down. Remember, level 3 is where this Renekton wants to shine.
Oh, I'm not sure that's the style he wants to shine here, but he at least has some sort of backup. That his jungler is on the top half of the map. So is it a consolation prize if Apperman is quote-unquote stuck under turret when your health bar looks like that?
Yep. I think, like, Unica can stop Apperman, like, making the jump, but I think Apperman very happy at this stage of the game. He is some CS down to just send his opposing Renekton back to base, and sure, he won't get the teleport out, but he's having a really good early game for the Aatrox. This is what you want. You don't need to win. You just need to make sure you are set up, happy, and that you aren't very far behind.
Look at Kokog's items. He went back and purchased the other Dorans. That's
oh, this is a classic. That's a
if
classic.
If that doesn't tell you what Kokog's thinking, he's like, okay, I have to do well in lane. Like, do you remember the Rengar build where you built 6 Doran blades in a row?
Yep. Immediate scaling. Just get as much AD and as much health as you can. The item is only effective when you need both, and with the passive, and then the passive made more unique and less stackable over the years. Completely unstackable at the moment, but it was previously like 3 on hit, and then like 3%, and then 3% physical, which was a bit crazy. And I thought about Rengar yesterday. I don't want to do that again.
That's fair. I've got a mate of mine who's starting to one-trick Rengar. So I have to see it in most of my games. It's disgusting. It's not what you'd expect. As Kokog's just returned to lane, and he's not trading too well against Apperman here. The Renekton The early game king is unfortunately falling a little bit off of his throne, courtesy of the Darkened Blade. And now Tussle is waiting in the wings. There could be some shenanigans afoot here. And I think, despite the importance of the bottom lane, as the camera does pan over, we do see Zenit and Corporal going well. They are getting ganked right about now, and they don't see it coming. But
This should surely be cleanse blown. Reiner should wait for Zenit to get close enough.
yeah, they need to wait for it, like a predator. Corporal's like, okay, that's a bit weird. Why are you waiting there, buddy? What is going on? And he goes, oh crap, now I gotta go. But Zenit, no, he mistimes the cleanse a little bit there. The shield though, will it be enough to get Zenit out of lives? Zenit is burning down. Zenit is taken down for first blood. Hollow says, thank you very much for my team's patience.
Can't be arguing with it. Corporal and Zenit feel the need to push up in the 2v2. Zenit mistimes the flash, still eats the Zenith blade, and drags Rhino all the way in and earns first blood for this bot lane. Like, mostly look at Hollow here. He's not giving away the game. This last sign, Zenit just a little too keen on the flash. Brings Rhino all the way along. Doesn't give away the game. Just plays up and lets Corporal and Zenit dig their own graves. Ultimates burned both sides in the top lane, with Apperman only one wave of gold behind, and I believe up on experience with not recalling. Cogcog's really not going to be enjoying himself right now.
No, Cogcog does have teleport though, so V3 could potentially look for the first dragon of the game. We know that they do quite like the idea of stacking those dragons. Hawks obviously have a bit more of a preference to Shelly in the top half of the map here. So we'll see which way do they decide to go for. Tussle clearing out some vision. V3 obviously more than aware than Cogcog's it. Yeah, no, getting out of there. Does not want to even risk getting caught out in that position. Clever play so far, and you can kind of smell the fact that things have slowed down a little bit. Right? There's still some aggression. There's still that first blood in the bottom lane, but it's not like the reckless aggression we saw out of Corporal's Leona last game. He's on that defensive braum, and is he doing well? Doing exactly that.
Yeah, not forcing anything open. It's a bit odd to not see Tussle with a definitive path. Like, with this sort of game, with the Braum setup, you normally just see a 2-camp clear into diving into a lane. And I maybe would have preferred that from the Hawks here. This Xin Zhao is not the best to sort of just sit back and farm on. Forcing a gank often better on this champion than just full clearing at maximum speed. Otherwise, you may have been favored by something like the Diana that has a greater impact on its own when attacking enemy champions later, instead of the Xin Zhao that becomes a conditional frontline. Sure, you can attack, but you turn it back around at the first sign of danger.
Yeah. Well, so far Tussle poking around. Then they're just going to trade jungles, right? Obviously, we saw the invade from V3. So, of course, Hawks decide, well, we own your bottom side, you own our top side. And the game continues with a lot of respect shown for it. Apperman might be getting dived. He absolutely is getting dived here, I should say, with Ace roaming up. Cogcog, though, started off early with the Hurricane just comes through. Apperman burns the ult, burns the flash, backing away, and will get out without casualty.
I think it's the best way to do it. We'll have that ward to know that Ace and Yuka have moved away and moved back in again. Apperman a little too keen, but has called the teleport. Here comes Dasher.
Yeah, Dasher coming through here. And now Cogcog could actually be in trouble. He's relatively low. If the Infernal Chains connect, Apperman didn't even risk throwing those out there. But the TP from Dasher means Summoner spell blown, but top laner saved. And you know what? I think that's a worthwhile trade.
It was kind of required, as Apperman maybe realizing the mistake as soon as he was back into tower, so will be called away. That is teleport advantage now for V3. They hold that one on Ace, their mid lane. So should be looking to set up some sort of macro play into this dragon. The mountain does help the Galio most of any of our solo laners here. Otherwise, the Hawks would look for that one. There's no doubt Apperman surviving as long as possible up in the front line. A win condition for later on. Looks like Unic has been caught out.
Yeah, and it's not looking too good. Forced to ult themselves to safety, which is just maybe getting caught out a little bit, obviously. Not the best place you want to be, but hey, it happens, right? Especially for a player that, as we've talked about earlier, first time on the pro stage this year, and Corporal... much like how the AD carry shouldn't overstay their welcome when the support is going off and roaming and warding, the same rule applies to you, my guy.
Yeah, a little sad there. Corporal thought the shield would be enough, but with each little piece of damage coming through, Reiner and Hollow able to take it down, Corporal. And V3's bot lane definitely accelerating a lot more than, frankly, they've been given license to. The Hawks not succeeding in their auto priority lane down here, and it's a little bit of a sad story. Ezreal already with his mythic item will now be a presence in the game.
Yeah, that Divine Sunderer, meaning that Hollow is just going to be so difficult to kill. The sustain that it provides, obviously, not only to mention that the likelihood that he's also going to pick up the likes of the Frozen Heart for the protection it provides means that once you do lock him down, if you lock him down, I should say, he's going to be hard to kill. But obviously, that is a problem for the future Hawks. Right now, the current Hawks are dealing with the first dragon of the game, and it looks like V3, I think very rightly so, to say, look, there is no need to do this. There is no need to fight you over this one. We'll just back it up. Cog is feeling ambitious onto Appleman there. Appleman not able to get the third charge of the Darkened Blade. Cog continues the prowl of Ace as backup. The two-man hunting team find themselves the Darken and cut him down a size.
Denying 2 waves from top, utilizing that teleport advantage before it can be nullified. V3 looking command and control, and they found Dasher.
Yeah, but Tussle is on the counter gank there, and you has to run for his life there. The ultimate use actually really good there by Ace to make sure his jungler gets out in one piece, and the Hawks, after doing a good-looking counter engage, couldn't get anything more than a couple summer spells.
Every little advantage that the Hawks generate is nullified almost immediately by V3's patient setup and patient execution. Zenit not really enjoying himself down here in this bottom lane. Will have access to the wave still, but Reiner is just looking so much stronger than Corporal right now, able to bully the enemy AD carry much more effectively. Tussle is available on this bottom side. Hawk's composition does require a degree of acceleration, otherwise Apperman's going to be frontlining for no one behind him. Otherwise Dasher will not be able to deal enough damage, disrupt the V3 lines, as we saw Ace do so successfully last game. It's really difficult here. If the Hawks don't get going, I'm really not sure what their composition, like what their plan is, because this was a composition that's meant to fight, that's meant to generate those advantages in the lanes. V3 are clearly in their comfort zone, and that should be a scary thought going through the Hawks' mind right now.
Yeah, V3. We saw some discipline out of the likes of the Hawks and some questions about said discipline coming through that V3 just haven't really seemed to show those same kind of weaknesses here. As Herald was dropped just for some easy cash here. Tussle was lurking about just in case he was needed. Obviously wasn't, because there was no committed dive. But now Ace is roaming up once again on this Galio, and the team that we did have a few worries about when it came to the drafting phase of, hey, can do sort of everything, but not really, is doing quite a lot in this early game, where the Hawks just sort of seem to exist in the same way that other countries exist. You know they're there, but unless they're like right in front of your face, it's like, who cares?
Well, no specifics, no concrete plan, no style, no grace, and unfortunately, that Apperman is looking rather dead.
Yeah, the ultimate coming through here disables that turret. The TP comes through, but it's just not going to be in enough time. That Dasher does get a shockwave on one. That might be enough damage output, but yes, it will be, as Cog taking down low. No, Tussle is lurking in the back line there, and Dasher eliminates Cog to boot. Ace gets tagged up. Tussle needs the cooldowns, and he's going to hunt you down, but the turret is enough to dissuade the Hawks jungler from committing too much.
All right, Hawks claw their way back in a little. V3 are still favored. Let's not jump the gun. They are enjoying the way they're playing. They are sort of getting through this early game the way they wanted to. And even with Zenit still farming on this bottom lane, we do have to point out the MVP here for the Hawks. It's this tower that doesn't die. Reiner blows a bunch of cooldowns. Apperman thinks he gets to safety, but then Unica from the backline coordinated with his team. And you'll notice this tower does nearly all of Unica's health and gets a shot or two in. It's a cog as well. So Dasher, knowing that positioning and playing towards that tower, gets himself 2 kills, gets himself back in the game. but with 800 gold on those plates, V3 are doing just fine right now.
And it's a bit weird to see that V3 are the team that got Herald, and the Hawks are the team that got the Dragon, considering, Hawks normally put a lot of priority on the Rift Herald as that first thing. We saw that in the first game, and we saw that throughout the course of the regular season to boot. But
I think it maybe speaks to Dasher playing, I don't want to say more passively, but more conservatively on this Orianna. Like, we haven't seen the camp mid destroy everything set up instead. The only fight the Hawks have actively decided to take was under a tower, and then the ball delivery system was ready. Just a little too late, but it was the go-to.
Yeah. Well, so far the game... Again, this has been a relatively slow game. And even the first game had its moments, especially early on, where it was just sort of... We'll skirmish a little bit, Corporal will be overzealous and die. Obviously on the Braum, a bit less of a problem. The only big consistent is the fact that Dasher, 100% kill participation in the early game, again.
Again, always for Dasher. It really speaks to me that we're at 15 minutes, objectives have gone down, and there is not a single kill or assist on Braum and Zinzao. That is a lot of early game agency that you expect to see swung around, and sort of the focal point here. Hawks look to change it as they contest this Dragon.
Oh, taken by Hollow of all people. As the Solo loves land on the back line, the Hawks are forced to scatter to the hills there as the heroic entering does charge down. They're pinned up against the wall. Cog comes in from the flank, and this could be a disaster for the Hawks. They do get some nice Dark and Blazo tussle! What a beautiful setup there! And Apperman's like, alright, we can 2v2 this one, no issues there. Hollow, though, doesn't go down. The healing from the Divine Thunder is good. And the last man in the cage match are the two top laners sitting on that double buff. So Apperman is feeling hungry for it, and Cog runs like a coward.
That is a huge amount of gold on over to Apperman's Aatrox. A fantastic play through the team fight. He stays alive. He deals a ridiculous amount of damage. He will mop up here. There's a 4-4-4, and the Dragon does go V3's way, so they are technically favored, but when you hold the momentum, you don't want this much bloodshed at a Dragon fight. Notice that both top laners disappear from each other's vision. Neither wants to be cancelled. Cog first to the teleport. The fight goes awry here, and the Hawks look completely routed. Ace just pushing a little too far in, but Apperman arrives, jumps in front of Corporal. Won't keep him alive, but keeps Tussle alive for as long as possible. The Braum passive still ticked up on Hollow. Means that Apperman has access, and with that like huge combo that just deals so much damage, takes out everyone but Cog, and would have taken him out too if he stuck around.
Yeah, can I just say, look, I don't want to be that guy, but I did say in Champion Select, my gut's got something with Apperman.
Oh no, I'm
just saying.
You're allowed that one. It's
I'm
this Aatrox is going really well so far.
Like, yes, he has got 2 deaths under his belt here, and he got camped. Don't forget that Apperman has been camped this game, basically, and is still doing damn well. Sure, he doesn't have his Mythic, but he is grouped up with the team as the charge comes through. The Tier 2 will shatter to the ground here, and 2 turrets picked up early here by the Hawks. V3, though, not going to give up the macro game, will get the outer Tier 1s on top and bot, and so it's really up to you if you think it's worth losing 2 in the mid for 1 in each part of the sides.
I think I prefer the sides going wide here. It will allow V3 greater vision across the map. They'll be able to move through their opponent's jungle more effectively, whereas Hawks will simply have sort of one side completely broken up. Then with that mid T1, you can still defend it and be in and around your own jungle much more easily. So at the moment, just waiting to see which assignments break which towers next. It's sort of still all to play for in that early macro. It's a really, it's a big shame that Zenith's Chains of Corruption was slightly too short as Ace jumped away under that T2 take. And unfortunately, was not able to play that one forwards. It looked like Hawks had found a fight they wanted, which is a rare occurrence so far in this game. Instead, we'll just relax back out. We have our top laners going bottom lane and our AD carries going mid. So nothing too special here.
Yeah, just waiting for the next objectives is what these teams are doing. I think it's all right. Let's build up our items. We're seeing Dasher building towards a Veil to keep himself just that much safer, which I must say I do love. to see out of a good Orianna. Like I've been on record saying this. I'm sure there's clips of me saying this. Orianna, if played right, straight up best mid laner. And I love seeing Orianna.
Maybe last year or the year before that.
I still, again, I was a mid laner back in season 3 where Orianna was like the big mid laner, right? Like I still have the belief. And I might be wrong. I'm willing to accept this, but I can't recall a season where Orianna isn't at least somewhat relevant in the pro scene.
This
And
one.
that's just because she does everything. I'm sure there is. I'm sure if someone is dedicated enough, you can absolutely prove me wrong.
I think it's bits of 7. She was considered not evergreen as it Corki outclassed.
Oh god, don't
But
really say Corki meta,
but you're
please.
right though. From the history of League of Legends as Corporal, just gonna take that
Oh.
one down. Oh, never mind the
Oh,
dive.
no, Zenit just gets deleted on the face of the earth there and actually gets out no issues on the backside of that one. He's going to continue to tank up the turret there. Cog is duty frontliners. Corporal falls victim as well. A beautiful 2-man pickup for V3.
I think it snuck up on Corporal and Zenit, not expecting to lose that mid tower. Maybe something we should have thought about when we said, oh, hey, like you've taken the sides versus the mid. The extra thing is that if the Volibear gets under the mid lane, it won't be there for very long. So V3 pushed that one there further and further forwards. They now have full control of their opponent's entry into the river and can move into that jungle relatively safely. And that will allow them to keep finding these picks, keep pushing forwards. Zenit, bless him, has a non-completed man immune and some swords, and Hollow is already on 2-point-something items.
Yeah.
It is really looking quite difficult here for the Varus. It's not going well.
This
That
Varus
dive
is
comes through.
not...
Oh, it looks so good, and then it's got Ace on top of it for further disruption. They just layer it perfectly, and Corporal is dead a long time before the gray screen hits him. It's rare we see a support beat their AD carry to a mythic.
Zenit does have to spend the items, complete them, the man immune and everything like
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
It's
it doesn't feel
not
good, does it?
great.
It doesn't feel good.
It's very telling about how this game has gone for Zenit here. One of the stronger AD carries on the table you can bring to the table, and just that first gank sort of escalated things. And now Tussle is getting caught out of position here. Does use that Crescent Guard and, of course, the Gorginka alongside the Flash to run for the hills here. Even Apperman forced onto the back foot, and all of the Hawks feel like they're on the retreat. Sure, Apperman does have a goon squad coming towards him, so I don't blame him for going on the run, but...
I think if he knew the rest of V3 wasn't on the way, he'd take that fight 10 days out of 10 every time, but made aware this time with Tussle's sacrifice that he was vulnerable, and... it's so heartbreaking for the Hawks to see that they've sort of pulled out this fantastic composition that was like ready to brawl, ready to play, and they just haven't got on the board. It's true, it's 6-10, but nearly all of that coming from a single team fight, whereas V3, even though that's only a 2,000 gold lead, strictly by composition alone shouldn't have been able to generate it. Sure, Cog has managed to clean up nicely, but didn't suppress Apperman. Instead, Ace has been in nearly every fight, and Hollow has a huge lead in this bot lane. If he does choose to go this defensive route, it's going to negate Apperman and Tussle's ability to play through those fights to become that front line. Hollow doesn't even have to teleport away. The Frozen Heart will be enough to slow down these attack speed dependent carries. You need to be cancelling your auto attacks on the Aatrox to blast through your abilities at top speed. It's not possible to do it easily into a Frozen Heart, as we see. Hollow is starting to build that up now. It's going to get so difficult for the Hawks to walk forwards into a V3 that have the priority. They have this ability to set it taken to half with a True Shot Barrage. They are in to the Hawks' jungle. It is so difficult to walk it forwards.
At this point, you might as well call it the V3 jungle with how aggressive the V3 are going. And
look, there we go. Cog walking through his jungle.
It's like, wait, what? This is Apperman, this is my jungle. What are you doing? Like, two top laners just basically shaking hands is what that is. But it's, the gentleman's disagreement. It's like, oh, okay, I'll slap you a bit, you'll slap me a bit, I'll walk away, you walk away. We'll see each other in like 5 minutes.
They're slapping each other in a place that should have belonged to the Hawks a while ago. So it's even more demoralizing, even more mental warfare.
Oh no!
As the teleport coming in, this is the lizard wizard from downtown.
It's for the 3 members and a solar flare to boot. The Hawks are forced to flee for the hills as the rest of V3 are diving on top of them. Then the retreat comes through. The heroic entrance does buy room as the rest of the Hawks do rally up. The only victim was Dasher, not able to get out in one piece, courtesy of Oriana's low mobility. But what a flank play! 3 angles, and they made it work.
The ability to move into their opponent's jungle gifts V3 another fantastic flank, and with that, they are able to push forwards another advantage in a controlled and calm fashion. Ace looks at home on this Galio, managing everything that comes back as we see the replay. So Hawks are feeling good about this. They just got Arcane Shift out of Hollow. They've got this front line managed, but Concog comes in from an angle they could never expect, flashes onto Dasher, and the Renekton Flash Stun is famed for its ability to engage. A little bit of a magic shield prevents anything going back over. The Hawks are unable to stand up as Hollow maintains that front line. And it's another V3 victory. To see this turned around, we have to see something exceptional from Dasher. I think a full Chains of Corruption into Shockwave can open up an angle for Apperman to take over. But at this stage, it is looking difficult.
Yeah, the Hawks have been the recipients of multiple attacks, and they're under attack once again here from Apperman and Concog. And this is something that probably could have been called attention with their drafting. I know I didn't notice it until now, which is the actual lack of proper engage. Their engage is Zenith.
They were meant to go like 10-0 in the early game. Instead,
Yeah.
Tuska's still only been involved in 4 things at 25 minutes. I think the jungling here and the way the lanes were played, enabling it, definitely slowed down Hawks to a stage where V3 got into the comfort zone, and once they're in, they don't get out.
But there could be a steal here. Tussle posturing goes in, is able to steal the dragon away, and I don't think V3 are going to be too happy at that one. Looking for a shockwave onto 2 members. The shield is up, holding the front line there. This could actually be good for the likes of the Hawks. They're diving on top of V3. V3 are scattering, and the Hawks will pick up 2 kills and the dragon for themselves, but Hollow is still hassling them, says, come on, you got to play this game with me. You got to dodge all the skill shots. I know you're heading towards that Baron, but are you going to get there with the health bars to do the objective?
Unlikely. I think if Hollow just stands over the wall, can probably take out anyone but Apperman, who looks to start that objective. Unica will be spotted out here, so
oh my God,
Tussle knows that he's nearby. Teleport comes in, so this will be the 5 members. Dashers at full health, no shockwave, but Hollow has a shooting gallery. Unica and Reiner just need to try and get an angle in. They can fight this.
Yeah, he's looking for ult in over the wall as well for Unica, so they've got to commit to the fight. Are they going to get the ejected team? Then low, but will be secured by the Hawks, and that will be Unica losing his life. Hollow running for the life. Reiner realizes, crap, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. Someone get me out of here, please. Apperman, get away from me. Will back away eventually. No courtesy at that one. 2-shot barrage doesn't get the execute. Baron, Dragon, and 2 kills, all on the back of Hawks. We wanted to see this 10 minutes ago, but finally, the Hawks look like a team.
Look at the approach here. Chains of Corruption goes wide. V3 get a little too comfortable. They are split in priority. Hollow should be behind Cog here, ideally, to allow that, like, push back in the direction Xin wants to come in. Instead, it ends up being a flip. Don't get me wrong, Unica could have outsmited there, but unfortunately, attacker's advantage on the smite. The wind becomes lightning coming through and will allow the Hawks to get away with that one. And then on the other side, where Unica looked like they had maybe stolen the Baron, Smite's just 100 too early. And it's really sad for the members of V3. They've bled a lot of advantage quickly. That comfort zone buff may be wearing off. Ace not a pivotal part of these fights, and Hollow not able to push the multiple members of Hawks away from the Baron. It's looking a little rougher here for the Hawks now, but it's not all the end of the world. They are just in a deficit on gold, and they still have this sort of composition that has shown their comfort so far.
Yeah, but the Hawks fighting back hard, building what was a 2k gold deficit into a 3k gold lead right now, which is a fantastic position for this team to find themselves, because finally, the members, Zenith is allowed to throw from range. Apperman split pushing in the mid lane, does get dived on by Cog and Reiner, but I'm not so sure they want that fight, as Apperman is hungry to get some trading in. Again, while the two top laners traded out, the rest of the team sieges in the bottom half of the map here. And V3 just need to weather the storm because we know that they can pull miraculous comebacks. Hell, they spent most of last game 2k gold behind and still won. So this is not an irrecoverable situation for this team, but they need to weather the storm and lose as little as possible.
It's really difficult for multiple members of V3 to get away from the Zinzao ball delivery system. I think if Hollow is able to be confident and play up, he can make it more difficult. As long as he is in range for that Frozen Heart, then chain on the Arcane Shift to the first thing that comes his way. It is more execution heavy, but I think it is the way to go. It denies Hawks the most agency in the fight. Apperman pushing forwards into this mid lane. Looks like he is going to get it. Eventually, the minions will turn around from hitting Cog, and the Hawks will push in with another wave, pulling the other members away. True Shot barrages across. Here come V3.
Yeah, diving on top again, multiple knock-up. Dasher gets caught up in this. Dash is going to fall without really being able to use that shockwave. Zenit is surviving. Tussle forced to back away, but the Hawks are forced into a full retreat. But Apperman does keep it alive. Tussle still hasn't gone down. Then Hollow's in the backline. Why is the Ezreal in the backline for some reason? Hell, it make it work though. V3 are winning this fight decisively. Apperman is going to go down. Zenit is going to go down. Surely, Cog. No, there's a control one. Cog. Watch out. No! Oh, Zenit wasn't able to get the final blow, but Hollow, when we get this replay, look at a Hollow. He spends the fight in the enemy backline.
It's the way to be for an Ezreal with an advantage. That flash away becomes a flash forwards, and with the anti-heal, with the damage reduction, able to weather so much of the storm. A slightly unique build from Zenit had him on 2 items that weren't a mythic in this fight, so despite being able to clear the wave quickly and being able to provide that slow to his teammates with a very early Surreal Grudge, Zenit is mostly just utility here. Goes down nearly immediately. Corporal spends all his cooldowns defending Zenit, keeping that AD carry alive, and does not manage to keep up with the frontline. Dasher falls as a consequence of those cooldowns going onto the AD carry. And with that, V3 managed to push forwards. Apperman, a little bit of a last hope here. But look at how much damage Hollow takes, and it's not even a scratch. That's multiple hundreds from an Aatrox, the stuff of fear for AD carries, but instead, able to tank it out, able to pull the multiple members of Hawks apart, and that was Hollow's fight to lose.
Yeah, look at that damage output there. I think the heartbreaking thing, imagine if Dasher didn't get caught out by the Solar Flare, didn't get tagged up by Ace's Shield of Toronto. That 36 damage is the auto attack. The one thing Dasher was allowed to do in that team fight.
Yep.
Was
That's completely brutal for Dasher. He's gone from sort of being the focal point of the Hawks last time to just enabling support this time around. Another utility-based performance, and when your AD carry is that far behind as well, it becomes almost impossible to play. V3, you've noticed the Hawks all stacking up on this top side. They are well and truly hunting. Cog is in deep. It will be the flank. We'll look for Dasher again. No flash, but it's all good.
Oh, Dasher needs to be safe, but he gets caught up again. Running away, does get knocked up. Once again, the Hawks are in shatters, but once again, down. Dasher is alive, safe in the backline. Zenit, though, was the victim. Does Dasher have the damage output to win the fight? Nope, they've left Apperman behind again. Oh, God. It happens again. Temporal, it happened again. The same thing.
The only member that can't escape the front line, and the carry they have to play to, disrupted by Ace, disrupted by Cog. The members of Hawks falling apart at the seams as the flank from V3 always looks so good. Way too far to attack that tier 2 tower. I don't know if they just assumed that all the members of V3 had spread back out on the map, but an assumption made wrong as V3 take the next Baron.
And it's a worrying trend that the two team fights.
Yes.
The two team fights that have gone so in favor of the V3 team have been the same setups, which is a member of V3 gets to the backline.
Cog move topside. Why did
they know he's there because they're pinging him.
Oh.
But again, look at Dasher. gets caught up, gets out. Zenit, though, doesn't.
Oh,
Multi-man knock up, and then Zenit just gets dived to hell and back.
Kokog achieved that, and it is an achievement to dive that far into the backline on the Rankston when they have so much denial. And the stopwatch to set up the fantastic Heroes entrance just breaks any hope the Hawks had. 4 of their members spend half the fight up in the air. It is so brutal to see V3 execute this composition. It's, it strictly should be losing, but the early game was theirs where they had no right to it, and they've taken it and they have ran. They maybe realized that this is the plan or said, hey, we've got something here. And they're not slowing down. They mustn't slow down.
Oh, why would you? You're in a great position right now. Keep finding these openings and make it work. If you see a vulnerable member of the Hawks, you die for that. As a shockwave comes through, Coco though might get the worst end of it. Force the drop dominance. The immediate shield coming out from Reyna as well will keep them in one piece. But V3 continuing that aggressive train, win or lose, hurt or help. You got to keep your foot on the pedal.
They won't slow at any stage. Tussle now, the victim, as Cog will teleport in again. The flash is available, won't use it here most likely. Demolish stacked up by Unica and then executed by Cog for the quick turret take. With that shockwave gone from Dasher, the cooldown's pretty quick. You can see it winding around there. Hollow felt comfortable walking up. Tussle is the only other long-range engage short of a flash from Apperman, which is a little too much at this stage in the game. So they get both tier 2s. They will continue generating gold out here. And with only 30 seconds left on that Baron, they set themselves up for Cloud Soul Point. So much agency from all of these key ultimates. The windows for Hawks to play in are vanishing quickly. They will lose the inhibitor. They lose this soul that is percentages on percentages. And V3 will be comfortable taking this game forwards well and truly into the late game.
And for the likes of the Hawks here, despite it being a Cloud Soul, I feel like you have no choice but to contest it. If you give over a Leona and Ezreal, the Cloud Soul, that's going to be so much crap flying your way. You have to basically play dodgeball when it comes to Hollow and that ultimate. Reyna can just throw out the Solar Flare thinking, it might hit, it might not. At this point, who cares? You've got CDR on top of CDR. So
movement speed after ultimate is always great, like especially for something like the Leona. As we see, 49 seconds free mitigation on Ezreal ult means we're looking at about between 20 and 10 seconds, depending on how much Ezreal is in combat. As truly you can reduce that more than once per second, 1 second every 2 seconds, so a little bit brutal. Here, Hollow will be enjoying casting that, then playing on the wave, because he should be able to refresh it almost in one. Hawks are going for some big brain play here. They are going to wait and see if V3 overextend and spread themselves out.
It's a 3-man death bush. I always worry about 3-man death bushes. Yeah, Cog smelled it. What a beautiful control word from Cog there. Smelled it out instantly there. Corporal denies the true shock barrage, and the siege continues, but the Hawks are on the back foot. They've been on the back foot for a while. Sure, things looked good for a bit, but unfortunately, they stumbled. V3 grabbed control of the game, and I don't see V3 letting it go. We know they can play from behind. We know they can play from ahead, and the Hawks, they haven't shown that they can play from behind this series. They haven't really shown it throughout the course of the regular season, and
that was a 20-second Ezreal ulti cooldown. The Hawks are struggling, and V3 have the tools. They are enabled. The Hawks haven't played great from behind. You spelled it out in one. And then the ability of this composition to play from behind. It's not meant to play from behind. It's meant to amount an insurmountable advantage and then play it forwards. And V3 can't really play from behind with this composition either. If Ace falls behind, it's a long way back in the past now. The Galio does not enable an Ezreal that shouldn't have as much damage as the premier bot laner on this patch, Varus.
I'm a bit embarrassed to just notice Ace has a death cap.
Yep.
This is not the full utility Galio I was expecting.
We're playing 2012 full damage below everyone at Galio, and it is exciting. When that Void Staff comes through, multiple members of the Hawks really will have to fear for their lives. It's
That
getting
is-
out of hand very quickly. The Baron coming up in 20 seconds. V3 will simply set up for it and fall away into the fog of war in what is now their jungle for the Hawks to walk through. The Hawks trying to clear out waves at top speed. They want to get back into this jungle. They don't want to go to match point in this series. Looks like all of us that reversed our predictions on V3 may be eating our words. As no doubt the pivotal fight is moments away. The Hawks' last chance as Tussle walks forwards. Dash away, not quite this time. Dasher loses the Banshee's Veil. That is 40 seconds or so. We'll have to wait here now. And Oriana will be vulnerable. V3 finally move away into the Baron. The wave coming in the bot lane, the timer for it. Now Hawks have a difficult choice to make. They've sent Appaman away with the teleport to rejoin if necessary.
Yeah, but they're going to have to do something here. They have to contest this. I don't feel like you survive a Baron siege, but look how afraid they are. They're so afraid to walk anywhere close to it that by the time it's there, it's simply far too little, far too late. Tussle's going to get dived on, the Baron will be secured, and the Hawks are stuck in the fight for their lives. Their Dasher on the sideline, so isn't it? They are so far untouched. This could be good for the Hawks. The TP comes through. Mistimed, and Appaman gets slammed up and just nuked from 100 to 0. Thankfully has the GA, but the Hawks not willing to give up on their top laner just yet. Backing away, a TP could come through from Go. There could just be a delay. They're TPing behind them. They have to go now. The Hawks have to get this fight. They have to charge. They do pick up one kill and ace. They are retreating, but guess who they're retreating into? The waiting arms of an angry crocodile. Cog, where are you gone, buddy? It looks like he's getting access to the back. Dives through them, loses everything. What the hell was that? As will be V3. Multiple members down, but Hollow. Look at this Ezreal. What is he able to do now? He's a Bruges member. Zenit doing well, but Hollow's Zydon jumps in over the wall. Does stay alive as Cog goes over the wall. Hawks have overstayed themselves in the fight. Will be running for the hills. The buried up minions even wanted a piece of this fight here. Cog, Hollow will look good. Oh! A beautiful snipe. That CDR is looking sexy right about now.
The Hollow Show well and truly coming to a close. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed it. He's definitely flexed for all of us here. The minion waves will crash in, and overstep from Ace complicates the fight, but Cog draws out the members of the Hawks nice and slowly. And with that, buys time for Hollow, buys time for Unica to dive forwards. The Nexus towers will fall. The wave crashes in. V3, come on. Braum coming up does not stop you ending the game.
Clearly,
Okay.
they want to be careful. They want to be careful, man. They don't want
Best
to.
of 5 in playoffs. We're not rushing
Exactly.
anything.
You are
I
ahead
feel like that
in this
was the
situation.
end. But anyway, I digress. Tussle comes in forwards, manages to find a small angle, chucks Reiner backwards into the team. Too late, the Baron will fall. With Cog already getting out, this is maybe an overextension. Ace manages it, and with it, they control Appaman's TP location. They take him out, and Hollow will do the rest as soon as he comes back up. Manages that choke point. Ace coming forwards here, maybe a little too much. Gets Hollow stuck in the shockwave. The Braum passive will be enough to lock him down. Cog's TP only just completes its on vision. Hawks take the angle. Cog knows this. To run him straight down, try and deal with the crocodile before his teammates can catch up. Unica, with the re-engage, sets up for Hollow to dominate that last team fight. We have a neutral game state again somehow. V3 just posturing around this Elder Dragon. If Hawks are going to survive somehow against all odds, it is based on this Elder Dragon. They must play it. Everything else does not matter anymore.
Tussle needs this is one of those ones where it's Tussle, you just go in and die for the cause. If that's what it takes, that's what you do. But Cog is being frustrating, dragging it down at 7k as the camera goes wide. Ace is coming in for a flank though. This could be good as the Hawks are being caught out there. True Shot Barrage cuts him across as V3 dives on top of the members of the Hawks here, and the Hawks are just getting torn apart. Hollow hurt down. Oh, Dasher from over the wall gets the shutdown. This could be massive. V3 actually have to be careful. They're losing multiple members, but the base could be juicy if V3 decide for it. And look who's going for it. They're saying, screw the fight, screw the dragon. We could simply look for the base, but no?
Split priorities right now. Cog has walked back to this dragon. Can't see it going down, but he can see Dasher in combat. He must know. He has to try as soon as possible. Hawks against all odds get the Elder. They're defending the base. I think V3 must be kicking themselves right now for not just pushing under that Nexus tower. That is real brutal.
So I need to see how Dasha flanks here. Dasha
It's
somehow ends up.
teleport into the pit, I believe, as he's currently fighting
Oh.
off against Ace, both mid laners with a way to join this fight. Kokok does a lot of work early. That fight didn't look too pivotal, but the Chains of Corruptions are out, and it gives Reiner a way in. Ace, with the grand entrance, disrupts the front of this fight. They lose Corporal, they lose Zenith, or they should, but Hollow taken out too early. Across the wall, Dasher burns everything to get that Ezreal off the board. That tank build mostly mitigates auto attack damage, slows attack speed, and then auto attacks by percentage. Even though Hollow has done so much damage this game, that bar is huge. With the advantage, he's only dealt 4,000 more than a Zenith that has been behind from minute 1. If this was a different AD carry pick, we may have seen that advantage more realized, but then we wouldn't have had these fantastic team fights where Hollow transfers that advantage forwards and gets up in the grills of a front line that should frankly make an AD carry scared. And it's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it's great fun. I'm having a blast, Temporal. This is the kind of
It's
league that I
very
live
stressful.
for.
I don't know why,
Oh.
but there is a lot of pressure right now. But nice.
Oh, this is the quarterfinal best of 5. Of course, there's pressure. We're feeling the pressure. Imagine what the players are feeling. I can. Have you ever played
Incredible
that ranked
things.
game where your hands shake during the ranked game because it's reaching 15 minutes? Look at the timer. This is 45 minutes in a best of series that determines, hey, do you want to even have a chance at looking at Worlds this year? Yeah, you got to start looking. As we're seeing Apperman on the bottom half of the map. Tussle leading that charge. Tussle, oh my gosh, Shockwave only lands on one. Remember, they have the Elder Dragon. This could be something. They will find that Leona support, cut her down to size. Hawks, the Baron is spawning in 20 seconds. That one pick onto the support. Keep saying his Ace might get caught out. If they can get that Ace, this will be massive. They will nuke his health bar. He's running for the hills there and will get out alive. Cogcog, though, on the flank. I'm not so sure he's going to run for it as he does get caught up with the Infernal Chains. Forced to flash just to get away from Apperman. Apperman said, buddy, come on. We're top lane buddies. Get back here. I want to fight you.
Right, Elder Baron is fading. Cogcog has made himself a lot of time there, enough for Ace to get back out on the map, but does a loop-de-loop around the bottom lane. That is a strict advantage here for V3. They can take this fight. Sure, it's a 4v4. Apperman will arrive and make it a 5v5, but they can get Hollow in. They have to get the Ezreal firing.
Oh, they got Shockwave on to the volley bear of all champions. There's the Hawks are piling there. The final grand entrance coming through there. Will it be enough? It will just pick up Corporal and neutralize the priority target as V3 are forced to back away. Hollow, though, left untouched. Apperman is low. Zenith is fine. Dash is a bit low on the mana side as they will lose Tussle. Cold finally charging forwards. V3 diving into the Hawks backline. But Apperman says, get the hell off my backline. I am the front line. You respect me, V3. Will shut down Cold to boot. Guardian Angels coming through. Zenith and Dash are backing away. No Shockwave. Apperman finally gets taken down. Zenith and Dasher have to get the hell back to base now to defend the one Nexus turret that is still standing. Zenith.
I do love a bit of supportal combat.
Zenith's not getting back to base.
No,
that's not happening. And
this time,
all Dasher has ultimate. Dasher has ultimate. We've seen crazier things, Dasher. Can
We've
he
seen
hold it?
crazier
Nexus
things in
falls.
the last
The
fight.
Nexus is under threat. Dasher, you need to hold on, buddy, because Zenith's on the sideline. But it's not going to matter. It will be game number 2 taken out here. V3, far from the clean game. I'm sure they were hoping to see in the second game of this best of series, but they will claim victory.
With a heart attack, like potential end, and then V3 turning it back around. A key victory here. The Hawks got everything they wanted in draft. V3 looked confused in draft. They picked strictly for comfort. The bans didn't make any sense. They overlapped. They wanted something either that doesn't really exist or isn't the real advantage. And despite all that, they get into a comfort zone against a Hawks that did not look ready for this game. And they still take the victory. It's gotta, like, if you're the Hawks right now, where do you dig? Where do you go deeper in match point for V3?
I'm afraid I couldn't even tell you on that one, mate. I was feeling really confident for the Hawks to come through, but it's just looked like they're a little bit all over the place. They don't look comfortable on the board. Sometimes they're afraid to engage. Other times they're just sort of, oh, we'll poke at it a little bit, and then the moment
They had a
that V3
composition that
fights
should have
back, they run
killed
away.
nearly every lane pre 10 minutes. They should have been getting in there. They should have been like that first kill in bot lane that was Volibear against like the Zenith Blade with a miss flash for the Varus. that should have been Xin Zhao doing 2 camps, red, and then saying, enemy bot lane, it's time to die. Like Ezreal or not, like you just gun for the support, gun for the 3v3. It's yours to take. And instead, Hawks relaxed a little bit too much, and V3 took it and ran.
Yeah, V3 obviously in a great position here. You bring in a substitute jungler, and you look fine.
Good.
Honestly, you don't
Yeah.
look like you've got a fill-in jungler. Your jungler, yes, there have been some bits where it's like, okay, this is a little bit weird. But then I'm like, okay, this guy hasn't played professionally on the stage for over a year, and this is his return games. These are his return series. Yeah, there's going to be a few mechanical mishaps. We've seen far worse in the regular season. I'm not going to name the names, but what I'm going to say is Lee Sin. That Lee Sin play. You guys know exactly. If you remember the LJL season, you know exactly what play I'm damn well talking about. All right, if that could be allowed.
Let's kick it to a quick break. We'll be back soon as V3 take the Hawks to an unexpected match point. Don't touch that browser.